On today's show, 3 games in 4 nights. How about 3 wins in 4 nights? We'll break down yesterday's 5-2 victory over the Philadelphia Flyers.
And with the Sens' depth players getting on the score sheet last night, it begs the question, will Fabian Zetterlund be stuck on the fourth line?
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome! You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today is Wednesday, March 12th, and Pilsy, that wasn't pretty last night, but good teams find ways to win. And now the Senators have won 4 in a row and 5 of their last 6.
And Ross, what I love best about that win, all of the goals, except the empty netter, scored on even strength for the Sens. They didn't have to rely on the power play. They didn't have to rely on Linus Ullmark backstopping them to the win. Anton Forsberg gets a win in his first start in 33 games, a 5-2 win over the Flyers. Sure, it didn't look like they dominated. If you just checked the stat sheet today, you might thought that it was a domination game by the Sens, but they find a way to win. They find a way to get 2 points and win in regulation, so that's all good by me.
Oh, it's amazing the way that the Ottawa Senators have been able to jump ahead in the standings, holding down that top wildcard spot, and we'll get in later on into the show about the standings and who the cheering guide is tonight. Just one game of utmost importance. But let's break down that game last night. You guys did a great job on the postcast with Jack and Martian, just discussing how the hot start. Remember, I said score first, score early. Let's get a Brady Tkachuk first period goal. I hope you all cashed that like I did. I also just want to go out there because people are asking me in the comments. I hope you made that bet. I'm never giving out bets that I don't make myself. Let's make that clear here. So had the 7 goals plus 500 for Brady Tkachuk to get the first period goal. I didn't think it was going to take 24 seconds, though, Pillsy. Just how much does that play in to the mindset of the team? Because this has been a team that's been playing from behind and showing good gumption and catching up. But this was, hey, we're here. We're better than you. And even though they gave up the lead twice, they never trailed in this game.
Yeah, and I think it's huge too, Ross, because that was the first shot on net of the game. And for the Ottawa Senators, 24 seconds in, you're the team on the second half of a back-to-back. You're the team on the road. You're the team with your backup goalie that hasn't had a start in a while. So just getting off to that quick start from your captain, I think was so huge. It just allowed them to settle into the game a little bit more. Not saying that once they score, they're sitting back and they're just kind of coasting, not at all, but it gives you a little bit of ease so you don't feel like you're on your heels right off the top.
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much means they're going to win the game, though. The Sens are now 26-5-0 when they score first in a game.
I mean, it's a good sign, scoring first. That's definitely the way you want to start off a game. And yeah, 24 seconds in. How about that?
Impressive, incredible. And Claude Giroux gets an assist, a game in a building where he is a legend. I didn't realize that he's played the most games as Flyers captain in franchise history. Move over, Dave Poulin. Move over, Bobby Clark.
It's not that surprising, though, because he was captain there for how many seasons?
I think they said 779 games, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so that's a long time.
That's a very long time. Oh, man. What vibes in Ottawa right now? The players are feeling it. The management's feeling it, going out and making a couple deals to make this team better. And the fan base has an opportunity to show up and show out. They had a sellout on Monday night, damn it, in that victory. So they got plenty more home cooking to do. 7 of the last 8 games of the season are at home. And now it's like, let's get there. Let's fire it up. And the Sens, I mean, not to get ahead of myself, but the Senators have been playing these meaningful games now for the last 6.
Yep.
They're going to be geared up, peaking at the right time if they're able to maintain this stretch going in to the most important time of the year. I almost don't know how to act in these situations, Pillsy, the way that the Sens are playing. Like, we're so used to wondering what went wrong. And now even their backup goalie, Anton Forsberg, couple goals maybe you don't love, but your job as a backup goalie is to win games, and he has been doing just that. Anton Forsberg has now won 4 of his last 5 starts.
Yeah, let's everybody calm down on the Forsy hate here. I know obviously Allmark is the guy, but it's not like Anton Forsberg has been terrible in the few starts that he's had recently. So I think he's a serviceable backup for the Ottawa Senators right now.
It's just funny when he makes like that incredible glove save on the Tyson Forster tip out front, and then a play later, a puck hits his glove and sneaks past him. It's just like the duality of Anton Forsberg.
Yeah, that'll happen. And Ross, just looking at the schedule, sure, the Ottawa Senators have a lot of home games in April, but they're about to be on the road quite a bit in March. 6 of the next 9 games remaining in March are on the road. Now, all of them Eastern Conference teams, which is nice, but still, this March is not going to be a piece of cake. Not that April will be either by any means, but they're on the road a bunch here.
Yeah, home for 1 against the Boston Bruins tomorrow, and then a couple of rivalry games. You could, I guess, call the Bruins a rivalry game too, but not to the extent of the Toronto Maple Leafs on the road on Saturday. And then Tuesday against the Montreal Canadiens, who won again last night against the Vancouver Canucks. They were up 3-0, and it became a 3-2 game. They get an empty netter to ice it there. So the Habs are rolling a little bit. They've won, 6 of their last 7 games now. That said, it's just that much more important that Ottawa had these 3 wins over the last 4 days, rather. So it's incredible, man. I'm at a loss for words almost, but let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. We'll talk about Brady Tkachuk's milestones in the next segment. Final segment, we'll discuss Fabian Zetterlund being stuck on the 4th line. For now, what will it take for Zetterlund to move up the lineup? But this seems like a good time since we already started talking about it. The standings, which Sens fans, I'm sure the first thing you did when you woke up this morning was check out the NHL wildcard standings. And over at Money Puck, our good buddy Ryan Hidman, citizen on Twitter, put up, because he's been following both The Athletic and Money Puck. They both have models that show a percentage chance of making the playoffs. Now, you take this obviously with a grain of salt because it changes like 10% whether you win or lose certain games. But the Senators' playoff odds are now at the highest point they've been all season. You can see the graph on Ryan's Twitter, RB Hindman on Twitter. But The Athletic has them at a 92% chance of making playoffs. Money Puck is at 89.4.
I think The Athletic always has had better stats, so let's take them at their word at 92%.
Both of them are fine by me, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a big part of that is strength of schedule, all the home games, the way this team has positioned themselves. And I just think, Ross, that I don't know whether it's going to be the top wildcard spot or the second wildcard spot, but I am feeling pretty good that the Ottawa Senators are putting themselves in a position to be in one of those 2 wildcard spots. I mean, it's not to get ahead of ourselves, but it's not that crazy to take a peek up at the Tampa Bay Lightning. Only 5 points back, Ross.
I'm glad you brought this up. We're not doing that. Remember last time we did that? What happened?
Yeah, hey, all I said is it's not too crazy to do that, Ross. I didn't say it's going to happen, or I didn't say we're gunning for that Atlantic Division 3rd spot. All I said is it's there. It's possible.
Last time we tied Tampa, we went into their building and got pumped 2 games in a row.
Well, good news is, Ross, we don't go back down to Florida in the regular season. So
in the regular season, thank you for clarifying that. They do still have 1 game left against the Panthers, though, and 1 game. And the Lightning, but both those games will be in Ottawa. So the Senators currently sit with 73 points in 64 games, 3 points up on Columbus, who have 70 points. All teams, I guess the top 3 teams in the wild card, Montreal being 3rd right now, have 64 games played. The Habs are 5 points back of Ottawa, 2 points back of Columbus. And you've also got the Rangers and Bruins tied with 68 points, although the Rangers have played 1 extra game and the Bruins have played 2 extra games. Then you have to go back down to 66 points, where the Detroit Red Wings have lost 6 games in a row. So 66 points on a 6-game losing streak. Whoopsie daisy. If only they added 5 seconds to the clock at the end, maybe they would have gotten a point there. I don't know if you saw that. but Wings fans rewound the tape, and apparently when Ullmark covered a puck, they felt the ref didn't blow the whistle fast enough. They were getting their investigative journalist hats out and saying, we want justice. This game is under protest. No, it's not. Wings are sitting in 6th in the wild card race right now. 6s are crazy in Detroit, and it feels like this is their story the last couple of years, where they find a way to have a good middle part of the season, and then they just tank the ship later on. Now, they're not out of it by any means. Only 4 points back of Columbus with the same amount of games played. Couple teams to jump in the meantime, but the gap now, I think this is the first time in a long time, Pilsy, where Ottawa has more than a 2-point cushion on anybody else in the race.
Oh, it feels good, Ross. And yeah, the thing with the Detroit Red Wings is, what are we going on, season 3 here, where Steve Yzerman takes a look at this team at the trade deadline and is like, nah, we don't have it. This ain't it. So that's clearly a trend for them. Ross, are you able to go to the Senators' schedule quick? Pull it up on YouTube here.
I thought you were going to tell me to go to the Atlantic Division. I was like, we just talked about this.
No.
We're not doing that. You want to see their March schedule then?
Yes, I have a conversation starter here.
All right. Once my computer loads up here, we will get that on YouTube. Bang.
Boom. Okay, so we got tomorrow's game up against Boston. Scroll up a little. I'm not worried about the Penguins game here.
All right. I can't wait for the Penguins. I love playing the Penguins.
We got tomorrow's game at home against Boston. Saturday in Toronto. That'll be the St. Pat's jersey game. Then in Montreal and in Buffalo, in Detroit, and home to Columbus Blue Jackets. Those are games I'm keying in on, Ross. Which one of those... how many games is that? 6 games. Which one of those 6 games are you getting out the red permanent marker and, just like they do on cartoons, circling like crazy on your calendar? Which one is most important to you?
Montreal.
Yeah, okay.
Ottawa's 0-2 against Montreal this year, and they're 5 points back. Like, this is a team I don't even want them sniffing around late in the season. So that to me is the most important game on this stretch.
Yeah, I'm with you. Oh man.
And it's one of those, like, some people might say the Columbus game on the 29th. It's like there's room for 2 teams in the wild card. If Ottawa can maintain pace, I think it'd be very cool for Columbus to get in. I'm looking at that line in the stand, not randomly drawn with a ruler. That's an important line. And anyone below it, I want to lose games now. So Columbus, hey, fill your boots. Make the playoffs. That's cool with me, as long as we can be there with you.
I'm with you. And Ross, there's 2 more opportunities to beat them if that game doesn't go the way you want, and one of them is at home, one of them is on the road. I want the Habs to suffer as much misery as possible. I like, even more than the Red Wings, even more than the Leafs. I despise them the most, and I don't want to see them even get close to happiness. So I'm with you. That's the game that I'm looking at big time here.
All right, after the break, we'll look at tonight's schedule, what your cheering guide is as an Ottawa Senators fan, get into Brady Tkachuk's milestones, and what is going on with this forward depth. It's so foreign to me. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. March Madness is here. It's March, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. Look, I'm not a college basketball expert, but when March Madness comes around, I love taking a look at the bracket, and I love sitting back and being like, I think I might be the person that gets a perfect bracket this year. And who knows? March Madness is so insane. You never know if favorites are going to win, if underdogs are going to win, and it almost always has surprises throughout the bracket. So stay in on the action with tournament games happening almost every day. There's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. Green numbers, trophies hit your account real quick. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on college hoops action all tournament long.
All right, Pillsy. So the Ottawa Senators feeling good about their performance in last night's game. For a complete breakdown on that game, check out the postcast where Pillsy, Jack, and Martian go through the highs and lows of a 5-2 win over the Philadelphia Flyers. Before we get to the milestones within the game, tonight's cheering guide. If you're an Ottawa Senators fan, it is not a busy night. Wednesday, 4 games on tap and just 2, I guess, of real substance. The Habs are in Seattle to take on the Kraken, second half of a back-to-back. Habs are rolling. Be great to see if the Seattle Kraken could get a victory there. We are also going to be rooting for our old friend Josh Norris in his hometown of Detroit, taking on the Red Wings. Sabres visiting Detroit, and that would be quite the way to lose a 7th game in a row.
And Ross, how about the Michigan man? I might sprinkle a couple shekels on FanDuel for Josh Norris prop bets. We know he loves playing Detroit, especially in Detroit.
I like that. So those are your 2 games you're going to be watching for tonight. Buffalo over Detroit. Montreal losing to Seattle would make for a very happy Sens army going into Thursday, where it will be a 9-game slate. We'll obviously discuss that on tomorrow's Locked On Senators. One thing's for sure, though, Brady Tkachuk has lived up to being an animal. We discussed moose. We discussed rhinoceros. One thing he is for sure is the captain of this team, and he is now alone in 4th all-time with 189 goals, breaking a tie that lasted, 20 minutes it felt like, with Marian Hossa on that list. The only players ahead of Brady Tkachuk, Daniel Alfredsson, Jason Spezza, and Alexei Yashin. So welcome to the Captain's Club, Brady Tkachuk.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome that he's able to hit that milestone like that. And with 189 goals, Brady Tkachuk is he's going to keep climbing that chart, Ross. And it wasn't just his 400th goal. It wasn't just the goal that puts him in 4th place in franchise history in goals, but it's also the point that puts him in 6th place in most points in franchise history, overpassing Radek Bonk. And now he's just 10 points behind Wade Redden for 5th.
How long till he gets past Wade Redden?
He does it this season for sure.
How about this month?
Oof, no, I'm going to say it happens in April.
There's 9 games left. You don't think Brady can get 10 points? I guess to pass him, he'd need 11 points in 9 games. I mean, say he does it.
Can he? Yes, he can. But I think it'll happen early April.
All right. So next up on the list is Wade Redden. And after that, I think it'll be a little bit longer to get to Alexei Yashin, who's 4th with 491 points. So Brady will need 92 points to move into sole possession of 4th on that list. But once he passes Wade Redden, he's back in another captain's club. It's Alfredsson, Spezza, Karlsson, and Yashin, the top 4 point getters in Sens history.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that Carl's up there. Like, to have a defenseman that high up is insane, especially like how many years did Carl play in Ottawa?
He played 627 games. So, yeah, pretty impressive. 518 points.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, he was sick. So Brady Tkachuk, also his 400th career point after playing his 500th career game on Saturday against the New York Rangers. So great to see well-deserved milestones for Brady Tkachuk in last night's game. And we both know he doesn't give a care about any of that. He wants to see the wins. Every game is a game 7. Boys, we're winning this no matter what.
Yeah, I love that attitude. And hey, you have to pull confidence from within yourself and display it to your teammates. And that's what a good leader does. So Brady Tkachuk, that's our captain.
That's our captain. That's our guy right there. Okay, on the other side, it's going to be a big conversation on the other side about the depth on this team, especially at the wing position. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Indeed. Look, you just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? It's easy, guys. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. Have you been in that spot where you need to hire like yesterday? The pressure's on. Every day without the right person is setting your business back. That's exactly when Indeed sponsors jobs comes in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. You can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on the Locked On Senators podcast. That's Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed. It's all you need.
All right, Pilsy, we are fired up because the Ottawa Senators are in a playoff spot with a 5-point cushion on the teams that are chasing them on the outside looking in. And they're winners of 4 in a row, and they are 5-0-1 since we made the buzz cut bet after a 5th straight loss against the Winnipeg Jets. We went to the Sens Gala. We said, Timmy, what can we do for you? How can we help out? And he said, you got to buzz your hair. And here we are. And holy smokes, Tim Stützle is buzzing. After losing the 14-game point streak, he was right back in the mix with an assist in the win against Philadelphia. Let's get an LOSP stats department stats dump right now. And was that the quietest 2-assist night you've ever seen for Jake Sanderson?
Yeah, definitely, Ross, especially because defensively was not him and Artem Zub's best night. So, I mean, one of them was an assist on an empty netter. And then the other one, I believe, was a secondary assist as well. But hey, Jake Sanderson continues to rack up the points here.
Yeah, it was a secondary assist on the Michael Amadio goal where all credit goes to Adam Gaudette. That little touch backhand pass at the blue line, staying on side, putting it right on the tape for Michael Amadio was a thing of beauty. So Jake Sanderson, with those 2 assists, now has 39 assists on the season. Last year, he had 38 points. So he already has more assists than he does points last year, and that's in 16 less games. The world is recognizing what every prospect analyst that came on our show in 2019, 2020, and 2021 said. He's the real deal. That's all people could say about him. They're just like, he's the real deal. And he's showing that right now.
Well, Ross, I don't know. There was a mix of opinions because
not on our show.
That's what I was getting to.
We didn't invite those people on the show.
Well, there was people that came on our show, and ourselves included, that were hyping Jake Sanderson up, really letting the world know how good we thought he was, even before the Sens picked him, Ross. Like, that was not a bias choice by us. We really liked him. And then a lot of Sens haters.
Didn't we call him Mr. Medals? Because Elite Prospects did that thing in every single category. They're like, yeah, Jake Sanderson's top 3.
Yeah, he's elite. And there was a lot of prospect analysts online being like, okay, everybody calm down about Jake Sanderson. Like, a bit of a reach for the Ottawa Senators at 5th overall. And I think he's vindicating that he's definitely worthy of being drafted 5th overall. And this guy's locked up to a great contract for a long time.
I know you guys talked about it ad nauseum last night, so I didn't feel the need to lead the show. But how about the insurance goal from Dylan Cozens in last night's game? He's up to 2 goals and an assist with the Ottawa Senators. And you know what the LOSP stats department dug up, Pilsy?
Let's hear it.
All 3 games, he has points in the 3rd period. Clutch moments for Dylan Cozens coming through. And it's great to see. Like, Josh Norris got a lot of hits. He was physical, but he didn't play the game with physicality as much, if that makes sense. Like, Dylan Cozens is almost looking for contact out there when he has possession of the puck. He's not quite like David Perron, who I saw a great line. I think it was a guy named Liam on Twitter. Wish I could give proper credit. He's like, David Perron does 2 things. He goes 3 miles an hour at all times, and he protects the puck like nobody else on the team.
Yeah, he's not a Ferrari out there. He's your
he's a Jeep.
Or he's like your dad's F-150 that's been on the farm for years, and you just know is going to get the job done. It may not be pretty, and it may not happen with a lot of speed and style, but it gets.
And he can carry a big load, right? With a defender draped all over him. He's like, nope. And him and Brady are similar like that, where they can protect the puck down low. And Michael Amadio has been doing it a lot more recently too, where they're extending offensive zone possession, and it's really helping the team. So there's your LOSP stats dump for the day. And I think that's a great transition into the depth of this team, because over the last 3 games, Ridley Gregg has been top 3 in ice time in all 3 games among forwards on this team. That line of Shane Pinto, Ridley Gregg, and Michael Amadio has really been somewhat a line that Travis Green is leaning on. And with David Perron playing well, Drake Batherson obviously playing well with Dylan Cozens, where in the world is Fabian Zetterlund? We saw this guy, and you gave up a lot to get him. It's not like, oh, they just got him as depth and, oh, that'll be nice. You paid a pretty penny for him. I know he's RFA after the year, but when they're winning, coaches aren't going to change the lineups that much. And even though they haven't necessarily played that well in the last 2 games, it begs the question, will Fabian Zetterlund be stuck on the 4th line for an extended period of time here?
I mean, Ross, it's a good problem to have here because for weeks, months even, the discussion we were having is, how are we going to find a way to get this top 6 going? How are we going to get depth scoring? Why are we playing 11-7 more often than any other team in the NHL?
Dude, we're only like a week and a half removed from Matthew Highmore playing top 6 minutes on this team.
Yeah, that's the thing. And yeah, like the offense and the forward lines were a disaster until Fabian Zetterlund was brought in. But ironically, he's a guy playing on the 4th line. And you talk about a guy like Dylan Cozens fitting in nicely. Also, Ross, milestone for him, 200th point in the NHL last night with that goal. But with Cozens, it's easy. You traded a second-line center, and you got back a second-line center. So he's going to be your second-line center. There's no question about that. But with Fabian Zetterlund, he wasn't really coming in and replacing a guy. The Sens have been playing 11-7 for a stretch of time before Zetterlund was brought in. So he was just effectively being your 12th forward. Where was he going to go? That remained unseen. And I think, too, it's important to note, we were talking about it on the postcast, but I didn't get a chance to mention it. Jack was saying, well, it's interesting how Dylan Cozens has fit in so well and Fabian Zetterlund hasn't. Well, first off, Cozens had a connection to the team. Him and Drake Batherson played together for the World Championship for Team Canada. So he already had a little bit of chemistry there, at least. He comes along with another teammate in Dennis Gilbert. So there's a bit of, at least you got kind of a friendly face coming along with you to a new team. And
well, Shabbat was the captain of that World Championship team, too.
Well, so there's just another connection. And he gets to play a game up against the Rangers and then goes into a back-to-back. So he gets a little bit more time to get acclimated as well. Whereas Fabian Zetterlund, he comes in, he said it, he doesn't know anyone on this team. He has no kind of connections. He said, all I know is they have 2 Swedish goaltenders and Daniel Alfredsson. So he's coming in kind of blind. He doesn't come in with another teammate to have a familiar guy. He flies in as quick as possible, doesn't get going in time for the Rangers game. Then he plays in Ottawa, starts on the 4th line, and then right away it's on the road to Philly for a back-to-back. So it hasn't been an ideal transition for Fabian Zetterlund coming in here. So I'm giving him a lot of slack. And even like his first game, I thought was a lot better than his game yesterday up against the Philadelphia Flyers. But I think we're going to see him elevated in the lineup. He is getting opportunities on the power play, which is good. But I don't know what you do, Ross, because like we talked about, I think before it was so easy to me, bump David Perron down the lineup and then have David Perron bump Michael Amadio down the lineup. And then you slot Fabian Zetterlund in as that 6th forward on the top 6. That was an easy decision for me. But now David Perron, the old farm truck, is running again. And then Michael Amadio is finding ways to contribute to the game, which we hadn't really been seeing from him consistently. So I don't want to take Perron off that line of Batherson and Cozens. And I don't want to bump Amadio down to the 4th line because he's shown great chemistry with Shane Pinto. So I don't know what the Ottawa Senators are going to do here with Fabian Zetterlund. But again, I want to preface, this is a good problem to have, Sens fans. Let's not get too upset about this.
It's a very good problem to have, and knock on wood, only Nick Cozens is injured right now, right? You're not going to have a perfectly healthy situation throughout the remainder of the season, playoffs, what have you. There's going to have to be movement. And I know everybody, it's like Christmas. You get your toys, you want to play with them right away. But sometimes it's going to be important to have them down the road, right? When dad gives you a wallet and you're like, what am I going to do with this right now? Then all of a sudden, couple months later, you get your first credit card. You're like, okay, I need somewhere to put that. You already have your wallet.
Is that what you're getting Lily for Christmas? Wallet?
Yeah. Hey, no spoilers. Lily listens to the show. Come on. No, jokes aside, and that was probably an awful analogy, but it was off the top of my head here. I just think that you're going to need him. And I don't think that he's the type of player, and I don't know him personally, but he obviously was playing in a top 6 role in San Jose. I think he's happy with winning. I would imagine that winning is probably all he wants to do. He did get a couple shifts on the top line with Brady and Timmy in the third period of last game. I'm sure that there's communication, and that's obviously the most important thing that goes on behind the scenes that as fans we're not privy to. But I'm sure they're telling him, be patient, play your game. And I mean, the way he plays the game is kind of like a fourth line guy in terms of he's a relentless forechecker. He hits, he turns over pucks, he has effort defensively. I'm not saying it's an ideal spot for him, but what are you going to do? I feel like Michael Amadio, this guy's second on the team behind Brady in goals over the last 13 games. He's on a heater himself. Like, at the right wing position, are you moving down Claude Giroux? No. Are you moving down Drake Batherson? No. Michael Amadio? Hell no. So you're in a numbers game right now, and I think as a Senators fan, you just have to be like, hey, this is a good problem to have.
Definitely. I still am of the mind. I think you bump David Perron to the third line and you bump Amadio to the fourth line. I just think that makes the most sense for everybody. Because, Ross, I agree with everything you said, that he does play that style that's conducive to being a fourth line player. But you got Fabian Zetterlund for 2 main reasons: to score goals and to boost up 5-on-5 points, right? And he's not going to be able to be as effective as you want as the price you paid to get him when he's playing 10 minutes a night. And if you're Fabian Zetterlund too, like, you're sitting here, you're being like, okay, this team gave up a big package to trade for me. Let's be honest. Like, they put a blue chip prospect in, a second round pick.
That's it.
But that's a big package to get
2
a
seconds.
guy.
But they got him. Not only it wasn't a rental, right? If it was a rental, then I'd be like, oh, you got to get him. RFA.
Yeah, let's not let.
Okay, it's not the same deal.
I know, but I'm just saying, let's not get into that mindset where an RFA is comfy and you're feeling like it's a guarantee sign. I think it's going to go well and they're going to sign him, but let's just. We've been burned by this in the past, so that's all I'm going to say is a little precursor there. But, Ross, what I'm saying is, if you're Fabian Zetterlund, you're seeing the package that the Ottawa Senators sent to get you. So you want to live up to the standard that you believe that the price they paid is worth it for you. But also, you mentioned it. Sure, he's an RFA, so the team has a lot of leverage and the team has a lot of control here. But this is a contract year for him. He's going to want to put forth big numbers with the team that just acquired him so he can boost his value and have more leverage for himself and his agent when they go to the negotiation table, especially as an RFA, Ross. You want to have as much negotiation power as possible, and the way you do that, especially if you're Zetterlund, a guy that scored 20 goals before, a guy that has 17 goals right now, and that was getting prime opportunities, albeit on a rebuilding team, but still prime opportunities there. He wants to be able to have that in Ottawa as well. So I think it's going to have to be an interesting balance between Zetterlund, the coaching staff, and to a lesser extent the management of how they're going to use him moving forward up on the stretch. But it's a winning lineup, and this team is about winning. It's not about putting guys in the right spots to appease to them. It's about how are we going to get 2 points night in, night out, and get that X beside our team name on the standings.
I think one line is etched in stone, and that's the quote-unquote third line. So I think Zetterlund's either playing on the fourth line or he's going to have to find his way up in the top 6, because in a coaching aspect, that Pinto-Greg Amadio line is Travis Green's matchup line. Yeah, and I don't think he's changing that. So I understand that would be the next move is, hey, put him on the third line. Let's just move Amadio down. He can be a fourth line guy. That's not how Travis Green's thinking. It's just not. So unless he's going to overtake either Perron, Batherson, Brady Tkachuk, or Claude Giroux, it's just that he's going to have to wait his turn for an injury. And again, we hope that never happens, but he's going to have to find ways to contribute in 10 to 12 minutes a night right now.
Yeah, and that's just it. And that's the nice thing with Fabian Zetterlund is he doesn't just have the shot. He plays a physical game. He's a strong guy. We know that.
It's not like he's been unnoticeable through those 2 games he's played. So I don't think it's like, oh, we got to get Fabian Zetterlund going. He needs more minutes. I think it's just like, hey, he's a good player. He should get more minutes. But having a good player on your fourth, like, I don't know if there's a fourth line in the league that has more goals this season than the Sens fourth line. If you add his 17 with Gaudette's 16, like, this is a good problem to have. I know Gaudette hasn't been scoring as much recently. He was hot at the start of the year, but interesting. I'd love to hear people's comments on YouTube as well about Fabian Zetterlund. Do you need him to play more minutes, or do you just want him to so you can see him more? But that takes away from how well the top 9 is playing and how chemistry is building. Players always talk about, hey, when I play with the same guys for a long time, it feels better. Cozens looks great with Perreault and Batherson. Are you going to break that up? And the top line's been playing together for 3 years, more or less. So it's going to be a balancing act, as you mentioned, Pilsy, but good problems to have for a team that's 5-0-1 in their last 6 games.
I don't think we're going to see any movement at all if this team keeps winning, Ross. Like if this team rips off another 3 games attached to this winning streak, I don't think Travis Green's changing a thing, even if he feels like, okay, Zetterlund's kind of settled into this team now and he's able to handle a bigger workload. I don't think we're going to see that change. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Sens handle this.
It certainly will. Pilsy, any final thoughts on today's show? It's a Victory Wednesday.
Let's go. Final thoughts for me is Levi Merelainen was sent back down to Belleville. Now, whether
Thank
this
you for
is
your service, I hope you enjoyed your 1 day of NHL pay.
Yeah, take that per diem, put the money in the shaving kit, save it for later. But I love that move, Ross. Now, did we get confirmation whether Allmark went on the trip or not?
Yeah, he was there. They posted on the walk-ins on Instagram. He was there.
Okay, so I mean that's
Team
good
guy.
too. Team guy. I would have been okay just leaving him in Ottawa, but I mean Ottawa to Philly, it's not like that's a strenuous travel day or anything like that, so that's fine. Bring him along, keep the team together. But I'm just glad they're giving Allmark the rest. And if you're going to give him the rest, give him the rest. Like, call Levy up. Don't even have him play, because who knows? Maybe things go bad for Forsberg. He gets yanked early, or God forbid, he has another injury in a game and Allmark's got to go in, and then he doesn't even get the rest he needs and deserves. So for me, Ross, a big Allmark needs rest guy, that was a move that I approved of.
Yeah, I thought you were pulling the strings there for a second.
What do you mean?
I thought you were the one who made the decision to hey, Ollie, don't even dress today, buddy. He made 2 games worth of saves there.
Yeah.
Final thoughts for me is happy trails to Aaron Crow. The Senators' chief operating officer has taken a new role with Canada Soccer as their new chief operating and financial officer. Wayne Scanlon said he did a feature on her earlier on, maybe last year, and said it was very clear that her passion is with soccer and grassroots organizations. She's been an on again, off again, one of those Melnick had a bad day and next thing you knew she was gone. And then, hey, can you please come back and help? She's been an integral part of the front office for a number of years. Will be transitioning to her new role in April. So she's not just getting up and leaving. There'll be a timely transition to the next COO of the Ottawa Senators. But Aaron Crow is moving on from the front office.
All right. Congrats. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck for her. Senators, good luck to them. Tomorrow we'll have a full game day preview against the Boston Bruins, a Bruins team that just scored 3 unanswered in the third period to beat the Florida Panthers. Sometimes we could, or some way in the past, we would have been like, oh no, come on, Boston's on our heels. But now I'm like, oh wait, that means Toronto can win the division. And we want Toronto in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs for content and for a chance to win purposes. So now the Leafs are right there at the top of the division with the Florida Panthers. It's going to be an exciting sprint to the finish. We hope you join us each and every day right here on the Locked On Senators podcast on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast, post-game and every single day. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.